Hi and welcome to today's episode of PCT 306 General Dispensing 1. And on this episode, we're going to be looking at divided powders. Now, what are divided powders? Divided powders are a single dose of medicine in powdered form. Here we have hyoscine hydrobromide 0.0004 grams. Then we have MIP, Bovis, we have MIT 5. Then we have SIG, take 2 powders Nocte. Now, the lowest, or will I say the minimum weighable in a class A balance is 50 milligram. And if you convert this to milligram, you are going to have 0.4 milligram. Hence, you know that this cannot be weighed in your class A balance. And as such, you're going to need to titrate. But first, you have to draft out your table. And your table will look like this. As always, you have your ingredients, you have your giving formula, and then you have your working formula. Now for ingredients, you have your hyoscine hydrobromide, and you have 0.0004 grams. Now what you need next is lactose. Lactose is like a bulking agent which is needed anytime you are preparing a divided powder. And for lactose, usually we use 450 milligram. Divided powders usually have a different approach when it comes to calculations. So, but the first thing to do still is to look for your multiplying factor. But in this case, we're asked to prepare 5 powders. So for multiplying factor, you have 5 plus 1 excess. Now, the reason why we prepare excess is so that we don't lose certain ingredients in the process of formulation, to give you a total of 6. Next, you have your hyoscine hydrobromide, and what was given was 0.0004 grams. Now times 6, you will have 2.4 times 10 raised to the power minus 3 grams, approximately 2.4 milligrams. Now, in order to know the stages of titration you are going to do, anytime you have greater than 5 milligrams, you know that it's still less than the usual 50 milligrams, which is the minimum weighable. But when you have greater than 5 milligrams, you know that you're going to stop at the first step of your titration. Now, when you have less than 5 milligrams, you know that you're moving forward to the second step. And usually when you have less than 0.05 milligram or less than 0.05 milligrams, yes, you move further to like your third step of titration. Now for this, 2.4 milligram is definitely lower than or less than 5 milligrams. So we know that we're going to do about 2 steps of titration. Next we have is our titration. So for titration, you have 50 milligrams of hyoscine hydrobromide. I'm going to write it in short, plus 450 milligrams of lactose will give you 500 milligram T1. Next, you have 50 milligram of hyoscine hydrobromide is contained in 500 milligrams T1. Now, how many milligram of hyoscine hydrobromide will be contained in 50 milligram T1? X is equal to 50 times 50 divided by 500. If you do this, you will have 5 milligram of hyoscine hydrobromide. Now you can consider all this as your first step of trituration. Now you go further by saying 50 milligram T1 plus 450 milligram lactose will be equal to 500 milligram T2. Now you have it as 5 milligram of hyoscine hydrobromide will be contained in 500 milligram C2. Now, 2.4 milligram of the hyoscine hydrobromide initially given will contain what? Now, X is equal to 2.4 times 500 divided by 5. Your answer is going to be 240 milligram T2. Still on the calculation, the total amount wrappable for every powder is 200 milligram. So you have amounts wrappable equal 200 milligram, but you were asked to send 6 powders, so times 6, which will give you 1200 milligrams. Now, going further, you look for the amount of lactose required. Now, the amount of lactose required in this formulation will be 1200 milligram minus 240 milligram, which is what you had initially obtained from the titration you did. Now your final answer will be 960 milligrams. Now once this is established, you can go right ahead and put it in your table, and then do not forget to verify hyoscine hydrobromide because it is a potent medicament. For methodology, we have hyoscine hydrobromide 50 milligram was weighed and transferred into a clean dry mortar. Lactose 450 milligram was incorporated into the same mortar and was titurated with hyoscine hydrobromide using doubling up technique until a homogeneous mix was obtained to give 500 milligram C1. Now, 50 milligram T1 was weighed from 500 milligram T1 and transferred into a clean dry mortar. The remaining 450 milligram T1 was discarded. Lactose 450 milligram was weighed and transferred into the mortar containing 50 milligram T1 and was titurated thoroughly using doubling up technique until a homogeneous mix was obtained to give 500 milligram T2. Now, the calculated 240 milligram T2 was weighed from 500 milligram T2 into a clean dry mortar, and the remaining was discarded. Lactose, now for 960 milligram, was weighed and transferred into the same mortar and was titurated using doubling up technique until a homogeneous mix was obtained. Now, 5 powders, each containing 200 milligram, was weighed, wrapped, labeled, packaged, and sent in an envelope. The remaining powder was wrapped and labeled as excess, just as directed. For our label, do not forget, since it is an internal preparation, everything has to be with a black ink. Now you have the powder, 200 milligram times 5, which is the amount you were asked to prepare. Now direction, dissolve 2 powder in a tumbler full of water, tumbler full of water, and take every night. Now, like we said, one tumbler full is approximately 250 mils. Now you have your name here, and then you have the date here. Now you have Department of Pharmaceutics and Medicinal Chemistry, and finally you have your uses and references, which you will obtain from the BPC as well.
These tutorials is brought to you from the Office of the Academic Director of the National Fellowship of Christian Pharmacy Students, CASU.